Alrighty, we're back and better than ever with your Champions League rundown. Just kidding, it's not late. I swear it's not late. It's kind of a double Champions League rundown. I hope you guys are cool with that. I might have been indisposed during the actual second round of the Champions League matches, but we'll start with this one. Qarabag against Shkendija, Azerbaijan's champion against Macedonia's champion, to try and get to the last qualifying round. That's what this is for. And the last qualifying round has already begun, right? But that's going to be for a different video. Now, Qarabag against Shkendija. Qarabag was up 1-0 after the first leg. Shkendija, big surprise. If you don't know anything about European football, one, welcome to this channel. Two, Shkendija, Macedonian league in general, not really been capable of a whole lot. They did manage to tie this early on. It's worth mentioning it was 1-1 on aggregate for 6 minutes, but Qarabag got to halftime up 4-1 on the day and 5-1 on aggregate. They polished it off in the second half. So the Giants of Azerbaijan, as expected, and as they certainly would have expected, are moving on. That brings Viktoria Plzen against Rangers. Legitimately stunned. Absolutely stunned by Rangers pulling out the 3-0 against Plzen. Plzen got one goal. That was in the first leg, by the way. Plzen got one goal in the first half, but then a 60th minute goal for Rangers meant it was 4-1 on aggregate. Viktoria Plzen never really created a situation on the scoreboard that produced detriment, but they did create that situation in the game. They outshot Rangers 27-9, had 3.3 XG to Rangers 1.15. Not a surprise. Okay, Viktoria Plzen is a team that has shown out and made European knockouts each of the last 2 years. They've got big European experience. The Czech league is slept on. I have no idea what happened to them when they went up to the Ibrox, but whatever happened there, they undid it very quickly in Czechia. It just wasn't fast enough. They lost 4-2 on aggregate. So very, very disappointing results for Viktoria Plzen all the way around. Plzen advanced. Rangers, of course, advancing, giving an opportunity for two Scottish teams to make the Champions League stage. Then one of the new kids on the block, Pafos, who made a run in the Conference League last year. Well, now they're making a run at the Champions League. They've beaten Dynamo Kiev. They won the first leg 1-0 on the road, which is a neutral site game for Ukrainian teams. At home in Cyprus, they won it 2-0, and they've got legit players. They've got a guy that I know from Football Manager, Mislav Orsic, somebody that's been a regular fixture in the Croatian national team, somebody that if you play Football Manager, you're very familiar with because he has, and this is true, mad skills. And he scored a goal in the second minute. Then they've got a goal in the 55th minute from João Correa. These are actual players. These are good players. Pafos is a scary team, and we are now staring down the barrel with this qualification of having a Cypriot team making it to the Champions League stage that is not Apoel. Right? Pafos has never been to that threshold before. They are doing something that certainly not a lot of people would have predicted they were capable of. Dynamo Kiev, I would have picked as the favorite in this match, but they didn't get a goal over the course of 2 legs. So Pafos advancing to the final round of qualifying, definitely a big surprise. Speaking of big surprises, it was a 2-1 lead for Feyenoord going into the second leg. The Dutch team had Fenerbahce down, but not out. Fenerbahce got a goal. I believe they got the goal late in order to come home with a 1-goal deficit, and then things got absolutely buck wild, as they normally do for Jose Mourinho. I remind you that this is Jose Mourinho's team. They went down 1-0, meaning it was 3-1 on aggregate for Feyenoord in the 41st minute of the match. This was one of the matches in this round. These are for not champions. These are for best place teams. If you're wondering why these two teams are playing against each other while Pafos and Dynamo Kiev are playing, or Azerbaijan's best teams playing Macedonia's best team, well, those teams won their leagues, right? It's a different bracket. The best place teams means these are teams that didn't win their leagues, but they're from leagues that are good enough. They send multiple teams to the Champions League. And Fenerbahce, in the course of a couple of minutes, turned it around, made it 3-3 on aggregate. John Duran and, I don't know who Brown is. Archie Brown? Sure, why not? Sebastian Szymanski, though, with the assist. Yusuf Nasiri with the assist. Fred then scores to go up 3-1. Nasiri makes it 4-1. Feyenoord's trying to fight back. They make it 4-2 on the day, which, of course, with the aggregate makes it, 5-4. I hate math. 5-4 on aggregate. until Fenerbahce scores in the 95th minute to see it away. So an absolutely spectacular match going down in Turkey. It was very even. It came down to moments, and Fenerbahce was able to take those moments to get 5 goals. This is a big, big, big result for Fenerbahce. It's a big result for Jose Mourinho. Got to be incredibly happy with the fact that this all went so swimmingly and that he was able to overturn that deficit, because that sends him to the final of the playoff. And they're going to have another difficult draw, right? Because it's on the best place side of the bracket. It's very difficult to get into the Champions League stage out of the best place side compared to the Champions side. But Fenerbahce is alive. And Feyenoord, who had a very good European campaign last time, is now headed to Europa League qualifying, where they will need to get through one round in order to get to the Europa League stage. Malmo and Copenhagen. First leg, 0-0. Absolute snooze fest. They traveled a grand total of 40 minutes across the strait from Malmo to Copenhagen, at which point Copenhagen, in a beautiful stadium that I've actually been to before, dropped a massive 5-0 on Malmo. 5-0 is insane work. After a 0-0 where basically nothing happened the entire match, they got 5 goals from 0.69 XG. I feel like that paints a very clear picture of how this match went. Every shot Copenhagen was taking went in. Nearly 50% of the shots they took in the game went into the back of the net. Hard luck for Malmo. They weren't actually that bad relative to Copenhagen, but they are not going to be going to the Champions League stage. Copenhagen, who made the knockouts 2 years ago, they are going to be going to the final of the playoff at least. Club Brugge, one of the favorites from last year's European competition. They managed to beat Salzburg 4-2 on aggregate. Great result for Club Brugge. Salzburg, of course, has been trying to work their way back into the good graces since they blew the league in Austria. But this was testy for a moment. 2 goals in the first half for Salzburg, but it was 2-1 Salzburg on aggregate. It was tied up in the 61st. Then Club Brugge went up by a goal in the 83rd, and then Vanaken in the 94th minute stretched it for Club Brugge to win it by 2 goals on aggregate. But they showed a lot of resilience, a lot of heart. You can imagine at halftime at home, that locker room was a decidedly unpleasant place to be. Slovan Bratislava against Kairat Almaty. This was a huge opening win for Kairat Almaty. That was in Kazakhstan. They scored a penalty in order to win it. It was a 16-year-old that took the penalty. But then in this match, Slovan Bratislava at home got a goal in the 30th minute. And we headed, as drama dictates, all the way to penalties, right? This is in the champion side, so best team in Kazakhstan, best team in Slovakia, just the way the UEFA gods intended. And a very unusual shootout unfurled, because first 3 penalties were good for Slovan Bratislava. In the first pen for Kairat Almaty, it missed. It was Valery Gromyko, a Belarusian player, that ended up bricking the penalty. And then all of a sudden they made the next 4. And in a bit of a disaster, right, Slovan Bratislava missed their last 2. So stepping up at this particular moment, right, this was an opportunity for Slovan Bratislava. If obviously they made both these penalties, they could have won, right? Everybody, no way. Really? If they made all 5 of their penalties, then they would have won. But they had the lead through a couple of penalty kicks. They had the lead in the shootout, and then all of a sudden that lead flipped, and once that lead flipped, it flipped all the way. And then there was Jorginho, no, not that Jorginho, who scored the final penalty for Kairat Almaty. That means that after penalties, we have a Kazakh team going to the final round of the Champions League playoff. And it is not Astana. This is a new team that has not necessarily flown at these heights before, but they have managed to scrap a very, very, I mean, it doesn't matter who you beat at this point. You're going to the final round of Champions League qualification. You've got an opportunity to go, get thrown in the same hat with Real Madrid and Liverpool and Bayern Munich and PSG. You can be one of the teams that is in that stage. And they have done literally just enough by the skin of their teeth to put themselves in that position, and that's just the magic of the sport. Little derby between Hungary and Bulgaria. It was 0-0 in the first leg, same as Copenhagen and Malmo. But Ferencvaros delivered the goods. They've been the better team in Europe over the past couple of years, so they are able to wave the Hungarian flag, winning it 3-0 at home. They got the lead early, finished it off in the last 20 minutes to stretch it out to 3-0. It was a deserved result on shots and XG, so Ferencvaros continues, the Hungarian champion over the Bulgarian champion. Then Red Star and Lech Poznan. First leg was 3-1 on the road, and then it was 4-1 thanks to this goal from Red Star, before a red card that maybe Lech Poznan's thinking is going to get them back into the game. It didn't really. They only got one goal in the 93rd minute. So you would have expected. Red Star is one of those teams that outside the top 7 or 8 leagues, they're of pretty regular presence in the Champions League stage. Lech Poznan not necessarily going to be counted in the same category. Poland's been kind of a wild west in a footballing sense, getting great results in Europe. I think got multiple teams to the quarterfinals or something of the Conference League last year. But Lech Poznan can't push that all the way to them getting into the Champions League. And the final match, the other great match that's been given to us by the best place bracket, right? We got the Fenerbahce showing down against Feyenoord. We've got Benfica against Nice. Really bad look for the French league here. Benfica has handled Nice 4-0 on aggregate. 2 goals in the first 27 minutes. This tie was basically over after the first one. It was 3-0 Benfica at home. Nice did not score a goal, obviously, over both legs. And when you have these two leagues, Portugal and France, jostling back and forth to decide who is going to be the 5th best league in Europe, having a result like this where Benfica goes to the final qualifying round, Nice is eliminated instantly, it's just a bad look for the French league. I mean, it's really a bad look for the French league. And that sets up the following ties, right? And I'm going to have our editor, just in case you want to wait for the video, I'm going to have our editor blur this out, the actual scores. But Ferencvaros against Qarabag, because the match has happened like today, right before I was making this video. So that is a showdown that's going to put one of those two teams in the league stage. That's the level that we are at. Then there's Red Star against Pafos. Red Star got to be the favorite in that one. Pafos, of course, the new kid on the block, like I was talking about. Not a big, high-scoring team either. And then an interesting showdown between two teams that, as you can see by the bracket, were drawn into the final playoff round. And then, of course, they were drawn against each other. Bodo Glimt and Sturm Graz. They have not played European matches to this point. They are now entering the fray. Then there's Celtic. Celtic has gotten a bye just because of their league position and where their league is in the coefficient standings to this point. They are taking on Kairat Almaty, the Kazakh champions. You'd expect Celtic to be able to handle that. Basel out of Switzerland, another team that gets a bye to the final round, taking on Copenhagen. That is a very interesting, very even tie. I expect to be settled on the final day. Then we get into the best place part of the bracket, Fenerbahce and Benfica. That is a bloody, brutal draw between those two teams that, I mean, Benfica maybe more than Fenerbahce would have expected to. Those are teams that expect and are not unusual to see in the Champions League stage. And then there's Club Brugge against Rangers. Rangers, of course, got through Viktoria Plzen in the last round. Club Brugge got through Salzburg. But Club Brugge, they've been very dangerous. And Rangers looked terrible in that second match against Plzen. So I wouldn't count out Club Brugge. Even though they don't have the big, flashing, English-speaking brand name, they were very good in Europe last year. And Rangers going to need to take advantage of some of that Ibrox magic in order to make the dream work. All right, Conference League, Europa League stuff is on tomorrow, so I should probably do that video.